2 relationships since I was 18. And I'm older than you.
Told you, age ain't nothing. Age ain't.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. Talking to you guys about Married at First Sight. Talking about Karen and Miles. Age ain't nothing but a number, baby. Age ain't nothing but a number. I can do this thing. I don't know if it's Anyway, listen, guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Click on the bell button for a notification of the uploads. And for those of you returnees, well, you already know the model, baby. You got the minerals. Minerals? Let's get into the review. So, talking about Miles and Karen, now you guys know I've been quite harsh on Karen and quite harsh on Woody as well, but yeah, we're going to talk about that. So with the Miles and Karen situation, I think you saw in this particular episode, I'm still not happy, bruv. Why am I still not happy? Because as much as I really can see that these two could make something work, there's obviously a hurdle and a barrier that needs to get over, right? We heard from the very first episode, Karen saying, you know, he's too emotional, and also the fact that she obviously finding out that he's younger than her by 4 years at least. That plays a psychological effect. Now, many people might say age ain't nothing but a number, but it is a number, okay? And it's a number, and it's also a psychological effect. Why? Because socially, as human beings, we tend to mutter and have a problem when there is an age gap, right? And that ends up being, I guess, a reason as to why some people break up. Because we'll say, oh, the reason why you broke up is because the age weren't right, and there was an age gap between you two. Now, when a woman's older than a man, because of what society has said, we always say that women grow up faster than men. Women are more mature than men. So therefore, choosing a man younger than you is actually like suicide. Because actually what you're saying is, a man who hasn't matured at 26, a man who's at 26 is still behind the woman who's at 26, because the woman matures faster. So imagine if you're 30 and he's 26, right? So now every single action becomes magnified. Let me give you an example.
Okay, you don't open yourself up, little bro. Don't open yourself up. Shake it off. Go.
I'm not gonna lie to you, even me, I looked at it and I thought, he looks hella young there. Not that he is young, but he looks hella young now in comparison to them, right? Because in my mind, the information that's coming in is starting to determine a picture that I'm beginning to see, because it's my perception, right? So I can only imagine what was going through, Karen's head when she's seen certain behavior like that. But let's just dive a little bit deeper into the actual show as well. So, obviously, with Karen and Miles, the very first thing they spoke about was that, you know what, she's quite fearful because obviously she never lived with another person before, lived with another guy before. Miles hasn't necessarily lived with another female in terms of a partner, but has lived with a female before. And so then she goes on to say something which is really interesting. She goes, she's scared about...
Because I'm not used to sharing my space, and I'm just worried about just like moments where I want alone time, I guess. Like,
everybody needs a space in a relationship, okay? Everybody does, right? We all need it because we all need time to reflect. We all need time to recalibrate. We all need it time to adjust ourselves and find ourselves and where we are. Now, when I heard Karen say that, part of me was thinking, I know why you're saying that. You're saying that because it's a form of protection rather than actually I need a breather. It's a form of protection to give myself so I don't lose myself in you, so that if I and because I don't want to lose myself in you, it's because I want to protect myself from being hurt, right? If I don't lose myself in you, I still have control, right? Because the whole thing about love is this, as the Bible says, it is about mutual submission to one another. Yeah, contrary to what a lot of people believe, because they don't read the whole of the Bible, it's not just men and it's not just women submitting to men. The Bible says submit to one another. The Bible says that your body is his body is yours. You know what I'm saying? It's a mutual submission when you're in love with the other person, right? And so what you see from a relationship is that when you've been hurt and you want to protect yourself, one of the ways that we do this in relationships is to make sure we still have control. So we don't want to fall too deep in love that we are moved by our emotions. We don't want to fall too deep in love so that we can stand strong and say and have complete control over how we feel, so that we can determine the course of actions, right? It's often a fear that we feel towards the relationship, because we are scared that if we allow ourselves to be too vulnerable, you will take advantage. That's what we've experienced in the past, and we don't experience it again, right? And so one of the ways that you protect yourself by saying, I need my space, right? But the I need my space, oftentimes, okay, I can tell you this because I am one of those people that needs a space. It is coming from a place of trying not to lose yourself in that person, because you might have done that previously and they hurt you. Now we know this is true because when Karen goes on to speak about her situation, her relationship, she does speak about the fact that she has been hurt by her previous boyfriend. Her boyfriend of 5 years. Not only did she said they were already having relationship problems. What topped off the cake, what was the cherry on the icing on the cake, okay, was the fact that she found out that he got his ex pregnant, right? So imagine, or got another girl pregnant. Imagine the mindset of now Karen. It's a siege mentality. What you have to understand is when you get cheated on, and you get cheated on in a certain way, just like Brett got cheated on, we're going to discuss him as well, the mind goes into a siege mentality. Why? It wants to protect itself. It wants to make sure that no one else can hurt it, right? So you have to find a way of being able to deflect the oncoming enemy. The enemy's love. Why? Because when we notice a pattern, when we fell in love, we felt vulnerable. And your mind tells you, hey, you fell in love last time, you were vulnerable, and you got taken advantage of. How do I change that? Well, you'd be crazy to continue the same thing. So the mind says, no, in order for us to be able to make sure that we don't get hurt again, because the mind, remember, the soul, the mind, it wants to protect itself. You understand? The ego and the pride, it has to protect itself because it doesn't want to get hurt again. Your heart doesn't want to get broken again. So what it does is it puts you into a siege mentality, which is that you have to any hostile coming your way, got to nuke it straight away. Antibodies got to nuke any virus inside, any bacteria inside. Nothing's getting past the barrier, right? And that's what we're seeing from Karen in a way. So it's not as prominent as other people, but you can see there's aspects of that. She's been hurt in the past, and now she's got a man that's younger, okay? Got a man that's that she feels is overly emotional, okay? And potentially you've got a mixture of your upbringing plus your experiences kind of making you feel a certain way in terms of the kind of guy you want to choose, right? Because for her, for instance, making that comment that he's too emotional, what does that mean? It means that, listen, from what I've experienced, I've not dated many men who are that in tune with their emotions. You know, they're more stoic. They're more usually, So to see that could be a problem. Why? Because it's foreign to me. You know what I'm saying? And also, maybe she also is carrying a lot of masculine energy, and masculine energy doesn't often deal with emotions. The feminine aspect of us deals with emotion. If you've dealt with a father figure who is very masculine and very regimented and not going to come outside of confinements and deal with emotions very often, then what can happen is the child picks up on that, and especially if it's a girl, she picks up the masculine energy. When she enters into a relationship, she does not recognize or does not compute feminine energy on that level from a man, because that to her is not masculine. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when he's bringing the emotions, it's not registering in her mind. Now let's go on a bit further into the actual conversation they had. Because obviously Miles made a comment, made a slight comment, and again, it's a little thing, but I'm picking up on these little things. He said obviously he picked out the sunshades for her, and I said, oh, fantastic, look, that's showing a bit more, forward thinking, we like that, and then they got onto the boat, and obviously Miles was saying that obviously he
That's my stranger, and I'm her stranger.
Okay.
So
you belong to each other.
Yeah, so break it down.
appreciates the fact that, you know what, they've moved from strangers to my stranger. Now here's my thing, again, remember the kind of woman that she is. So this is in relation to who Karen is. I just don't, again, this is just like the bed situation that I said. I didn't like the fact that he slept, it seemed like he slept for a moment or time, it could have been, or could have been all night, I don't know. He wanted to rub her feet and sleep at the end of the bed, yeah? But then now, obviously, he's almost excited by the fact that he's no longer a stranger, but my stranger. And he sees it as progress. And there is some progress to it, I'm gonna lie to you, there's an aspect of progress to it. But as a masculine male who's carrying a lot of masculine energy, right? Go-getting, making sure that you are about completing tasks and objectives. You're the hunter, yeah? The hunter is not satisfied with his position. Like, other man would have been like, I'm my stranger. Like, no, can't rock with that, right? This is why a lot of women like bad boys. It's not the fact that the bad boys is carrying a lot of masculine energy. Like, I'm just being real with you. The bad boy's got confidence. The bad boy is assertive. He's firm, yeah? There's some other qualities that are not great, but he is also those positive things. What I'm seeing from Miles is very caring, nurturing, very endearing, and loving, and these are great qualities to have in a relationship. You need it, right? Like, no man should go into a relationship and not have these qualities. But when they override and there is no assertiveness and no firmness, there's a problem, right? And that's what I'm saying to you, like, in this part, when he's always saying, we've upgraded to my stranger. Listen, if you're telling me that, I'm going to be like, I'm not satisfied with that. Like, I'm going to make sure that you know that you're not going to be my stranger, it's going to be my woman. Do you understand? Like, I'm going to tell you straight, this is where we're going. Like, I'm telling you this is where we're going. Why am I doing that? Because I have to assert that. If I don't assert that, I let you run the road. If I let you run the reins, like I said, I don't really feel like you respect me in that respect. So we've really got a problem. You understand? And you've really told, well, she hasn't said to him, but she really said that she feels like he's too emotional. Do you feel what I'm saying? Like, this is, so I'm picking up on those things. Like, I've seen already blogs. I think they make it past the 8 weeks. I'm not thinking about 8 weeks past. I'm thinking about after that, because it's only 8 weeks, you know. All right, cool. And then on the boat thing, you saw this. Watch this body language. When they asked how is it going between Miles and Karen, Miles actually did what I remember a couple of seasons ago with what's his name? I forgot what his name. The black couple. Where the guy wasn't working, but he became a doctor. I'll put a picture up anyway. But basically, the same thing he did. Like, when the question came to him, he answered it a little bit, then passed the buck over. Why? He doesn't have the answer. It's not like he's inviting her to the conversation. He doesn't have the answer. He doesn't know because he's not in control, right? He's not in control of the situation, of the proceedings. Now, I'm not trying to say that you have to be a domineering man. No. I'm saying, though, you should have as much say as this other person, right? You should have as much say as in knowing where it's going. Like, for instance, my partner, right? I knew she had experienced a lot of things in her past, but I was still dictating the pace. Like, I'm like, listen, look, so it was still my final decision of where we're going. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it was still my final decision. Why? Because that's the way I roll it. Do you understand? Now, I'm an emotive person. I carry a lot of feminine energy. If you talk about my endearing, my nurturing, my listening, let's be honest, I carry a lot of that. But when it comes to the final box, I realize that, listen, when it comes to relationship, you've got to be assertive. You've got to be firm. You've got to let me know, listen, look, I'm going to be honest with you. At this point, listen, this is what we're doing. All right, this is what I can deal with. This is what I can't deal with. Yeah, objective, goals, ambitions, hitting things, saying this is what it is, not hitting people, hitting things in terms of your goals, saying this is what it is, defining what it is. This is why Adam in the Bible was defining what the names of the animals were. Define it, you understand, yeah? Define what you are going to be, right? When you let her run that of what she's defining as it to be, at any moment she can quit whenever she feels like. Because she feels like she's running the thing. And I'm not trying to say that you have to run it so you can quit anytime you want. No, because you already know how you feel. So because you already know how you feel, you define it. Say, listen, look, this is how I'm feeling. Are you about this or not? So that she gets into line. And I'm saying get into line, I'm talking about getting into line with the vision, not you. In line with the vision, you understand, of you being in a relationship, right? Carry that firmness and assertiveness, trust me, it will save you a lot of things. And then she goes on to explain that obviously it's like, a stranger, it's like a stranger, to her, and it's like a security guard, etc. And I totally get, listen, I totally get it, but let me be very, very frank with you. I totally get the example she gave. Here's my problem with that. But if the guy was your type, you wouldn't be saying this.
Like, he feels familiar, but it still feels weird for me calling him like my husband or like saying I'm a wife. So I'm like, he's
stranger nonsense. The reason why she's saying that is because she's not sure. It's simple as that. Like, I know people are going to be like, they're new, but how have you behaved when the person is new? When you first start dating someone, when you start talking to somebody, yes, the person's a stranger, but you don't mention you're like a stranger. When you click, you click. When you get on, you get on. When you're liking somebody, you like somebody. Do you understand? You don't mention these other things, like you're a stranger to me. We don't mention those things, right? Because you're just trying to get to know the person. You're focused on getting to know the person. The issue here is that Karen does not feel he is the one. Now, she may over time gradually come to that understanding, but at the moment, she's not convinced. I said this last episode, she's not convinced. The things that you say are coming from your heart. The Bible says that, it's the issues, basically we speak from our heart. So it's not what goes into a man that defiles what comes out of him. Why? Because he speaks from the heart, and the heart is wicked above all things. Look, we speak from the heart. So what's in your heart, you're saying it. You know what I mean? Yeah? Just trust that one. She obviously mentioned as well when they were sitting at the dining table saying about, she wants more honesty, more communication, and you know she wants a man to be ready basically. And basically those are the things that her ex weren't. The man wasn't ready, he wasn't communicating, and he wasn't honest. So the 5 years she spent, she experienced that, right? And what the truth of the matter is that she is tired of those type of relationships, and what she's doing is trying to weigh up whether Miles is going to follow the same line or lineage of her ex-boyfriend. So the problem with her at the moment, one of the biggest problems for her is that seeing some of the behaviors maybe potentially could trigger her. Number two, when you try to define what you actually want or need in a relationship, and you're doing it in a relationship, what happens is you're trying to compare with the past partner that you had. See, if you did this work whilst you were single and you knew exactly what you wanted, what you needed. I'm talking for everybody else not doing Married at First Sight, because you ain't got the same choice. But when you sit down after a relationship breakup and you define what you actually need and define what's essential and quintessential to a healthy relationship for you, then what happens is when you meet people, you define, this is my terms and conditions. Meet it or don't meet it. And that goes for both parties. Do you feel what I'm saying? I feel like obviously what she's doing, she's trying to see where Miles, if he's gonna change his behavior. That's because that's one of her fears, right? Her fear is that, you know, that it's good signs at the beginning, but obviously he will change later on. That's her that fear, and probably because that's what she saw with her past partner. Good at the beginning, bad towards the end, right? And then obviously she mentioned about the 10 relationships. And it was interesting because at the beginning you see Miles leaning in, body language, talking about the fact that he's been in several relationships. At the end, he's like, whoa, why? Because the way she reacts to the fact that he's been in 10 relationships, monogamous relationships, and she makes a point about his age. This is my issue. The age thing, right? Yeah, she's annoyed later on that he calls her a cougar. But in the very beginning, she was here stating that obviously, look, the age situation.
I've wanted to be like that guy my whole life. Like, my dad jokes, but like, it's kind of real. Like, I've been in like 10 like monogamous relationships.
Right? The fact that, you know, you've been in 10 relationships and you're only 26. Why are you making it an age thing? If he's been in 10, yeah, but you're younger than me and you've made 10 relationships, so you've made it about an age thing, right? And then later on, when he's making jokes about age thing, you're now pissed off. Why? Because you started it, right? You can't start the thing and don't finish it. Do you understand? So the truth of the matter is, when he said about the 10 relationships, her mind was going to think, how can I disqualify you? Because it doesn't sound right to me. So can I disqualify you? That's the question that's going on in her head. This doesn't sound normal to me. 10 relationships is not a norm that I hear from men oftentimes, even people my age. And you see her body language shift when she goes and she says, oh my gosh, 10, and she even turns her face away from him and goes, I mean, I'm only 30 and I haven't had 10 relationships. So already you see that, okay, it becomes an issue, right? So that body language is very, very key to let you know how she felt about his 10 relationships. And then obviously later on, you know, they were in bed, and you know, they made a joke about the age situation again. Now, making jokes is fine because it shows that we're mature enough to have a laugh and a banter about the age situation. It's fine until it becomes a problem. It's fine until someone actually takes it seriously. So the joke that they made in the bed about you know, saying
Miles keeps calling me a cougar and old.
I did never say old. I said she was a cougar. And I said that's attractive. That's in right now.
And obviously, you know, he said about obviously that, you know, he hasn't got his. She said obviously he needed a school note to get into this trip to come, whatever. And he said something else as well, right? It was fine then, right? Until they got into the bus with Amani and Woody, and it's no longer fine. The cougar jokes are no longer fine. Now, here's where it may pay a difference, because obviously age can equal maturity. Age can equal maturity. Why? Because experiences of age can mature us in some shape or form. So when they're on the bus and they're talking, okay, and Woody's, and obviously, you know, Miles was making the conversation and joke about the age. Well, actually, Amani brings it up, and then he says, obviously, look, you know, there's nothing for me, you know.
I've been a cougar pup for a little minute.
You gonna stop calling my friend a cougar? She's not a cougar.
I've dated old women in the past. I've dated cougars in the past, right? And the cougar hits a nerve of Karen. Why does it hit a nerve of Karen? Well, it's the label that's with a cougar. Number two, again, this wasn't her idea of an ideal man. She didn't choose to date someone younger. Okay, it was given to her, so it's completely different. Number three, you know, the stigma that comes with being an older woman dating a younger guy, and you throwing cougar on there is making her feel uncomfortable because it makes her feel, and with the cougar is someone who's taking advantage almost of a young guy. A cougar is what Jada was doing to young man. What's his name? Freaking hell, what's his name? August Alsina, right? Yeah, that's the cougar. What Jada did to August, cougar and a bit. But do you know what I mean? So you don't want to be labeled. So she doesn't want to be labeled with that. You know what I mean? So that's where the frustrations come from. That's where, and he's not noticing that it's actually a problem. He thinks it's a normal thing because he's assuming that, listen, maybe he's dated women in the past and they don't mind being called a cougar, but she doesn't want to be called a cougar. She's only 30, right? She's still young. So if in her eyes, because of his age, she feels young, older. She's not older. She's just, so I'm not annoyed at her because I can understand why she will feel the way she feels. I can understand why she feels a little bit annoyed and a little bit frustrated at that, and the fact that she may feel like, if this guy's not serious, I'm going to waste my time again, when I already know that younger guys probably aren't going to be serious. Do you understand? So I can understand that point of view. But my thing with also with this is that, what's the biggest problem with having dated 10 people in monogamous relationships compared to having slept with 10 women before? And here's the difference. The difference is this. In society, we normalize sex. So if a man's had 10, 20 women, it's almost like, okay, yeah, he's had 10, 20 women, he's experienced. Okay, he's had 10 relationships. Whoa, so what's happened there? Like, da-da-da-da. And it's because, obviously, not only is the society view on relationships and the society view on sex a problem, the problem is obviously when people enter relationships, they're entering, that's why she asked me a question, are you entering these relationships with the mindset of marriage? Now, all 10, I don't know, maybe he's not. Maybe he entered it because he really liked the girl and he entered a relationship, didn't want to just, have sex. Regardless, it doesn't make a difference. The truth of the matter is, obviously, the way that we look at things in terms of comparison, 10 women that you slept with and 10 relationships that you've entered into, there's a big difference. The way that we view it and the way we interpret it. So I can understand, again, her viewpoint of having 10. It's almost like you've done so many, what's going on? Like she said, are you a relationship hopper? I need to know because I don't want to get hurt again. That's the key thing. But he made a very, very, very good point. He said, obviously, listen, like my maturity is there, obviously, evidently, because look,
me being ready at 26. I think my entire life, I've always been put in positions where I was the youngest, but like stepped up to whatever that is, right? And so like, I'm 26 years old.
I'm 26. I'm one of the youngest people to run a school. There's people at school have actually entrusted me to run the school. What's to say I can't be in a relationship with an older woman? Do you know what I mean? And plus the fact he made a comment in the bus, the fact that he's dated older women before, it seems like he has a taste for older women, right? And maybe because his mindset is not 26, it's 30. Maybe his mindset is 35, but he actually is 26. His body's saying 26. That can be a very high plausibility. So yeah, I mean, we're going to see. I think they can be great. It's just dependent on whether Karen's going to continue to defend herself, and that could end up being a self-sabotaging mission, right? Or she can end up defending herself to a point where Miles gets too frustrated and can't deal with it no longer. I think that'll be a long way before Miles gets to a point where he's fed up. But definitely for Karen, I think she could be closer than she even realizes, because of the way that she perceives a certain idea of what relationships should be like. Alright guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of the what uploads, baby. We appreciate you. Stay locked, stay loaded. More love.